Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this session of Peace and Purpose. Today, we are joined with KishaPedia, who is a womb wellness coach and sex doula. Our conversation, sexual healing, like the song, yes, discovery of yourself through sexuality. Kisha, so good for you to join me this fine day. How are you?
Thank you for having me on. I'm doing great. How about you?
Wonderful. Glad to see your smiling face over there. So let's dive in, since we clearly only have like an hour. Want to talk about how you got to this work, this womb wellness and sex doula kind of work that you do. What brought you here?
Oh my goodness. I don't know where to start. It's been,
Mm.
unfolding for about 15 years. I think my first introduction was 14 years ago when I did my yoga teacher's training. Um, it brought me to a place where I was just really, really aware of my body and how I was so unfamiliar with it for so long.
Mm.
And just the diving in started there.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And so the work specifically with women with their womb wellness, how did that evolve for you? And what do you do to support women in this work?
How did it evolve for me? Really just being very aware of our body and how it feels to be in this body.
Mm.
For so long, so many of us have been foreigners to our bodies. And the more work I did on myself, the more I realized just through conversation that a lot of women had the same issues and the same disconnect.
Mm.
And a lot of our womb issues were a result of us not being connected and aware of our bodies.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much the evolution of it and how I got where I'm at now.
Yeah.
And just offering support to others throughout the community who need guidance on connecting with their bodies and their womb space, and just helping them throughout their journey.
Mm. So when you're working with women with their womb health, how do you help them kind of see themselves more fully, get in touch and see the fullness of their body and really embody their bodies?
Mm, that's a really good question. I would say every woman is different. We all have different starting points,
Okay.
but just being present within themselves, actually being able to sit and feel what's taking place within you.
Mm.
Um, Even when different emotions may arise or just feeling the sense of anxiousness, like don't be so quick to move away from that, sit with it and process it. Like, why are these things coming up and what's the root behind it? I think that that is like a good start point or a
Okay.
good pillar just to have put in place.
Mm. I like that, being able to sit with your feelings and not, because people are like, oh, I'm feeling anxious. All right, I'm going to go do, right? We're so busy going to do because that
Yeah.
we're uncomfortable. We're not used to feeling all the feels. And
Hmm.
we may cry for a minute, but that doesn't mean you're feeling the feeling of what is taking place or understanding the why of what's taking place and how it's.
Exactly. And it's more related to our sexuality and our sexual expression than what we think.
Hmm.
Um, you know, just that being able to be comfortable with yourself and open up and be vulnerable with self before,
Mm.
expressing or sharing it with the world. So,
That a lot of people find it easier to go express with somebody else than sit with themselves.
yeah,
It takes a little less work and you're not stripped as bare, even though you can be naked in front of someone, but you're still not stripped bare kind of who.
hmm.
So I like that. So this sex doula work, what do you do with people? That's what people want to know, right? I mean, clearly we've talked, we know each other in real life.
I support them. I support them in their unfolding, whatever that may look like for that individual. We're all so complex. And like I said, each person is different. So all the support that I can offer to them with how they identify in the world, why
Mm.
do they have certain fetishes and desires,
Okay.
being comfortable with their sexual expression, being comfortable in how they show up and present themselves to the world, all of that kind of folds into the sex doula work. And we have to do that before we dive into, connecting with others. So that's the first layer. And the next layer to the work is partnership. How do we, bridge that connection with the people we decide to let into our intimate spaces?
Mm.
Um, how do we communicate with them? And just, it just goes on and on. It's really an amazing body of work. And I love it so much. It's an amazing body of work because mainly I get to see people connect with themselves, and then they go out into the world and share more of their authentic self truly with others. So it's really fantastic.
It sounds so amazing. It really is. It sounds like you're kind of on this life's journey with people, right? It's from the womb wellness. I don't know if they all start with womb wellness, but from womb wellness to how you identify sexually and see yourself and own yourself, and connect with yourself and then others. That's really the stuff of life that we typically don't get, neither from our parents or from school, or, there is no training ground for how to
Yeah.
own the fullness of yourself, because we're taught so much from a young age to not listen to ourselves. You know what I mean? To just go with the flow, or this is what we do, versus this is what my body's telling me I need, or this is what my spirit or my brain needs. So this work seems very empowering and liberating for people.
It is. It impacts us more than what we think. All those things you just mentioned are huge components into why we need this work.
Mm.
Just the disconnect our society has placed between us and our bodies. It's madness to me. I don't even know how we let them hack us that way.
I like that, hack us.
I really do feel like we've been hacked away from being in our bodies and being present with ourselves.
That is really true. I agree with that. Because we've made everything outside of ourselves. We have
Mhm.
to go do all of these physical things to make ourselves look appropriate, or to do or have and be. But that's not like who you are. And like you said, own who
Exactly.
you are. I really appreciate you kind of saying that, hacking of ourselves. And so how do we hack back into ourselves? How do we kind of pull away these layers that we've been given, that aren't of our making, right? We wouldn't choose it first for ourselves, but we're kind of here. How do we tap into, like you said, sit with yourself and sit with your feelings, but for your sex and sexuality, how do you ask people to kind of discover? Because some people may not truly know. They think they express this way, but they may have yearnings of another thing, or someone may have tried to influence them to participate in something. So they think they like it because, once you start parts, they might start to feel great, but that may not be like your true expression. So how do you help people kind of explore, peel back those layers?
Um, just slowly, one step at a time. You can't just take off all the layers at once and dive deep into it. But sexual expression, it's sticky and it's gooey and it's messy. It gets everywhere. So you kind of want to move through it slowly and just take your time with it. But yeah, just letting go of one layer at a time and applying actual practice.
Mm.
Um, we can read all of the books in the world about these topics, and we can have all the crystals in the world in our house.
Come on. Sage it down
But
twice a day, Palo Santo once a week. You can do all of that, right?
exactly, but if we're not, actually practicing embodying these things, it's just there as a
An
I
activity.
don't know, activity or something collecting dust on the shelf.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it looks good, but just applying it in practice. Be practical with yourself and your unfolding. So if it's something as simple as, touching yourself, be more gentle with the way you apply lotion and oil to your body.
Hmm.
The entire body is orgasmic. So take your time with this body that you're in and check out those erogenous zones. See what you like and what you don't like. Get comfortable with yourself before you go sharing yourself with others in that way.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to say, I don't like that.
That part. That part. So in the mundane aspects of life, you can find joy and new kind of thrills in your own self, is what you're saying. If you're talking about as you put on lotion and find your erogenous zones, that's kind of mundane. We kind of do it mindlessly. I'm just gonna, get done. I got lotion on, let's go. But you're saying take your time with yourself, explore yourself.
Yeah. And I mean, our days are, filled with so many different tasks. Like you can honor yourself just by giving yourself a couple of extra minutes while getting dressed, just to slowly apply your lotion, or sit in that bathtub just a few more seconds, or
Just
take deeper,
in the
longer breaths.
bathtub. Yeah, having people sit in the bathtub is real because we don't sit to take baths. Like my children love them, but I'm like, what? They take more baths than me, and they have man distresses. But I raised them on them, so I guess it's my fault. But for my blessing, they do the whole thing. They need the oils, the bubbles, the music, the crystals, the light, candles.
Oh, so they're already loving themselves up.
Listen, they're like, I can't have any more candles. You don't need any more candles in this bathroom space. You're good. So they are really yummy over there. So you talked about telling people this doesn't feel good. And I know for people in general, but specifically those that hold, female bodies, it can be kind of difficult to assert and share how things make you feel or where you want people to touch you or not touch you. How do you share with people how to kind of create boundaries and do better with consent?
Whoa, better with consent. Just be brave. Be brave. Be brave enough to say, I don't like this. I don't want it. And there's no real way of coaching a person through that other than telling them to have courage and be brave within those spaces.
Okay.
And anyone that you're that close with to share, your body, if they're that close to you, you should be able to tell them what you are pleased with and what you're not.
Yeah.
So that's number one. If you don't feel comfortable enough to tell them what you like, maybe they shouldn't be in your space that way.
So that's interesting because what you're presenting is the thesis of knowing someone before we're knowing them in that way. Knowing all of our sex positive and free flowing, I can do what I want to do with my body moment. A lot of times people don't take that time because they're feeling an urge or they see someone that's cute, thus they feel the urge and they just want to express. How do we feel about that? Or what are our thoughts on what that does to our body and psyche and spirit? We'll start there.
Do you really want to know what I think about that one?
I really want to know.
So we are chemical beings, right? When you have that urge and that attraction, it's there for a reason.
Okay.
Make sure that person has that urge and attraction to you, though.
I mean, a lot of times, and you know what? You're right, to you, because they may have that urge and attraction and you're just the body that's there.
Exactly. So make sure that that connection is there.
Mm-hmm.
And if it is, flow with it. Don't get in your head. If you just want to have some fun and you feel an intense connection with that person, I say go for it.
Love it.
Why would you block it? But there is a huge, huge layer in there that we have to, or a possibility that you may not get all the satisfaction that you want because it's an impulsive move.
Mm.
But what I do know is if it's a true connection, you will have an incredible experience.
Okay.
But you gotta make sure that it's solid.
Mm.
So maybe sit with yourself in that moment, like, hey, am I just caught up in my lust, or is this, real chemical energy flowing between me and this person? And tap into that. Then you can engage, dive into that.
dive in. I love that.
Very primal. It's really primal.
It is just that sometimes, right? It's not all lofty and romantic and spiritual. It is what it is sometimes. And in honoring that it is what it is. When people find themselves in those spaces, how do they, if they then want to elevate or then want to help, kind of ask themselves, what did this give to me? Do I like this? How do I feel about it? Do I want to proceed in this fashion with this person or other people like this? How do we give people tools to kind of self-assess what is healthy for them sexually? And it's not just, did I get off? But how do I feel emotionally about it? How's my spirit about it? Am I, like you said, it's out of your brain. Are you in your head about it? Like, are you feeling like, oh, why did I do this? I feel great about it now, but tomorrow, why did I, you know what I mean? Like, how do we give people a healthy perspective about their exploration of self? And then in the postmortem of it all, how do we assess, does this work? Was this great? Could I have done something differently to make it even better? Like, did I not speak up when I wanted to, whatever, you know what I mean?
Off of an impulsive one night kind of hookup, I say stay away from just getting too far into your head with it. Have fun with it, but when it's something long term, then you can dive into those type of questions. But just for a hookup off of pure attraction, it can unfold, and if it do, make sure that you're communicating with that person if you're going to go to the next level. I'm sorry, there is a child in my house, and I didn't know this child was here.
It's real life. It's real life.
Oh my goodness.
I love it.
Are we on camera right now?
We're on camera. She's gonna pause it. We're gonna take it out. It's okay. I love that.
Girl, listen. Oh, I gotta pause because the discussion that we are having it's an adult discussion. There is a 5 or 6 year old in my house right now. My daughter runs with our neighbor, and sometimes her daughter stays at my house when they go run.
Okay.
So,
but they didn't tell you.
I'm embarrassed.
It's okay. We didn't use any language that a 5-year-old should really know, so it's okay.
Let me go put some cartoons on for her, please. Give me 2 minutes.
No worries.
Come on, Savannah.
And she just walks in the room. That is epic. Brittany. Did Brittany leave us? Yes, indeed. So you were saying if it's a one night moment,
have fun with it. That's what you're there for. Don't overthink it. Just enjoy yourself. If the connection is pulling you and you guys are vibing, moving together, you're feeling their rhythm, they're feeling yours, you're going to have a good time. And although that person may be new and it may just be that hookup, still use your voice. Let them know what you like and what you don't like.
Right. That part is real. I think.
Yeah.
Well, I meant when we are talking about the postmortem, sometimes people have these moments, the flyby moments, and then they like go through this thing afterwards. Like, oh, should I, could I, woulda? Oh, was he thinking? First of all, it's already done. Except now you can decide later, okay, that's not the type of person I want to do that with again, or whatever. But give yourself the experience and the grace and the fun-loving moment, and take whatever health precautions you need, and then move.
Yeah, for sure. Give yourself the grace. But if that's not what type of person you are, and you don't desire to have those type of connections, and you know you're going to be hard on yourself afterwards, just don't do it.
And maybe
or get his number. Get his or her number.
It's hot and exciting. Just take that number.
Maybe not the first night, but maybe the second or the third night.
Hey, right. Do a date or two. Yeah. I think sometimes we get in our heads about a lot of things while in the act, pre-act, after act. How do you help people release some of the holds our brains, that monkey brain has on us?
So if we are in our heads, that blocks us from being within our bodies. You have to drop down from the headspace and into your womb center, your intuition, and allow that to guide you through how you navigate through your sexual experience. Peace.
We're gonna put a pause, Britt. So you were talking about dropping down into your body. How does one do that? Is it a practice that you learn? Is it just something you tell yourself, like, let me release my brain? How does someone learn to let go of that monkey brain?
Slow down. That's the first step. Slow down. See how you're breathing. Tap into the rhythm of your breath. Then go deeper. start to take the journey of the breath into the body and navigate that breath through the body and see what feels good, if there's any blockages, any tightness. And if it is, take a couple of deep breaths into that space within your body. I think that that would be the first step always.
That feels so yummy and nice. Just, I mean, well, first of all, your voice is really calming, right? So we're like, I'm gonna breathe. Okay.
Yeah, my voice shifts when I start talking about breathing. That's the sensuality coming out. Because breath is sensual. You know, once you dive into breath play and breath work, you know, that's a whole experience within itself.
See, we done tapped into something that most people don't know about. How is breath sensual and what is breath play?
Breath play. Breath, the reason why breath is so sensual is because if you notice, and we're grown, we can talk, we can chat, right?
Yes.
When you are in the act of climax and you are peaking, you notice that something amazing begin to happen with your breath and the pace and the rhythm of it. So if you allow yourself to just breathe and let that flow, you have a more pleasurable experience. I truly believe that breath within itself is orgasmic all along. I teach a workshop called womb breathing. And in that workshop, only thing we explore is breathing with your womb center. And every woman that walks away say that they have more pleasurable experience, heightened orgasms, and even orgasms without penetration or touching themselves at all.
Wow. See,
Yeah, so
breath is out of the air would do so much for you. See, party people. we know. I know that we see a lot in, say, porn or movies, right? When someone is about to climax, and it's always and all of this, right? When anything you read about breath or more aligned sexual expression, it tells you to deepen your breath and open yourself to it and allow yourself, like you said, to flow and be in rhythm. How do you help people go from what we've been taught and trained from media about sexual expression or excitement, right, to just more naturally expressing themselves and being
number one, porn is not real. Can we all say it together?
Can someone tell them info? They might know less.
It's not real.
Yeah.
That is not the real world. And you know, you get a little rough. You can do that sometimes, but no, that's not really how it goes down. Get out of the head. That's all in the head. Being influenced by the media and porn and just what you think it look and feel like and what it should be versus what feels true.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's ugly. Don't worry about being cute. Worry about having fun.
Your face is not going to be perfect. The perfect.
I'm not going to hold you up. Some of the best experience you have, you're not thinking about how you look in that.
In your body, you're not thinking.
And you look absolutely incredible because you are being natural and you're expressing yourself.
Exactly.
And it's nothing more sexy than that.
Yeah. And I think, so let's talk about that. Feeling sexy, being sexy, and the embodiment of who you are and how that relates to sex, right? Especially as women, even more so as mothers, we go through these, just because we're changing in life, let alone if you have a baby, but our bodies change as we go through life. We're not as thin or we're not as shaped or whatever it is. Then you tack a baby onto that. How do you support women or people with female bodies to feel good in the body they have and feel the beauty and the sexiness that they hold innately, right? I may not be sexy to you, but I might be sexy to you, but guess what? I'm always sexy to myself. But how do people learn to feel sexy to themselves? You know what I mean? So that it doesn't matter who's receiving them, they feel themselves and it's not dependent on the judgment of another person.
Yeah, it's through the discovery of self-pleasure, diving into that self-pleasure. Who are you here to please and appease? Is it you or is it about them? Like, even with your kids, if you feel like dressing look, this is about me. This is my life and I'm enjoying it. And I'm having a orgasmic experience experience navigating through this world naturally. So and everyone around you embraces you once you begin to embrace yourself. So don't worry about the influence of the world or how they may judge you. Think about yourself and how you're pleasing yourself. I think that's number one always.
I like that about pleasing yourself, because I think a lot of times so much of what we do is external. It's like, oh, I have to do this because so they'll be happy. It's very people pleaser. We're very much raised, especially as women, to be people pleasers, right? But starting with you, what resonates, deepening your breath, and what feels sexy to you, what feels good to you, what turns you on. One helps you decide what you like, what other people do with you. But two, you just have more juiciness for yourself, right? Like, for
Mhm.
you. Back to what you said. First for you.
Yeah, it turns into a whole experience too. Once you begin to just dive into what you like, you begin to become more intentional about bringing those things into your world, and you
mm,
spend more time with yourself in that way. Even when you're in a room full of people and engaging with others, it's still an experience about you.
mm. I think that is a very liberating thought for people. And you're phrasing, I'm having this orgasmic experience of life. Not that I'm having orgasms, right? Like separate. You're not separating the orgasmic experience. Life is an orgasmic, revelatory, wide open experience. And that
Yeah.
is such a that blows tops off folks' heads, right? Because we think of orgasms as particularly in sex, right? We think of this food was so good it was almost orgasmic. So you might think it was that, right? That's still related to a physical feeling from something else, not just innately you experiencing yourself and your journey through life.
Exactly. So one of the main practices we need to have is practice pleasure play, whether it's in the bedroom, whether it's with your family and your children, whether it's when you eat. Fully, fully be present when you are in pleasure.
Mm, mm. It sounds a bit like mindfulness, but I like the way you said being present for pleasure, right? Because we don't think of
Yeah.
pleasure the same being through with intimate relationships, children, family, even your work can be pleasurable, right? But we don't think of it that way. Um,
Yeah.
if you think of how your native intelligence comes out in your work and how excited you can get about hitting a mark or doing a great writing job, whatever, that's pleasurable. And you can feed that
Yeah.
same type of pleasure. I love that because we don't
Yeah, it is
all the
definitely a
time.
mindful pleasure act. I
Mm,
like I like the fact that you bring mindfulness into that. It is being mindful about your pleasure.
yeah, we don't think about that. We want to be happy, right? But that's different than pleasure. We want to get to the goal, we want to feel that victory. But all of that's different than the pleasure. I really think there's a difference between joy and pleasure. I don't know why. Just something in this conversation, it just feels different. Um, the pleasure that you get in just the waking experience or waking or sleep, whatever experience, but the pleasure that's present for all of us. I
Yeah,
think.
but that comes through practice. So
Mm,
with just adding those little baby steps, maybe taking a few more times to, just adore yourself in the mirror after brushing your teeth, hugging your kid maybe a second longer before you send them off to school, just taking a moment to breathe in some gratitude, before you take your first sip of coffee. All of that adds to the quality of life and the quality of us being within our skins to fully like indulge in that pleasure. And the more we do it, the more it shows up and the better quality of life we have.
mhm. I love that.
So overall, if we are embracing our sexual selves, our sexual energy, being true to ourselves, embracing these bodies that we are in, expressing pleasure, expressing pleasure throughout the day, um, our life and our existence, it becomes more harmonious with the others around us. And
Mhm.
I truly do believe that us as communal beings, we have to take care of ourselves first. Self preservation and pleasure should be the first law of nature for everyone. And
Mm,
then we can go out into the world.
right, right. When we're ready. I love
If you
that.
could just make all that make sense.
Wrap that up in a bow, boo. Wrap it up. No, I think that that's true, because if we start with finding the pleasure in ourselves, like you said, that adorning piece is real. I made a decision like a couple months ago. I was just like, I went to like purge jewelry and stuff, and I was like, oh, this is so cute. Wait, and I was like, you have got to start wearing your stuff. So like, I just made it a point, and that made getting dressed more pleasurable, because I'm like, what am I going to wear today? You know what I mean? As opposed to just, all right, let me toss on this shirt and these. But even if I toss on a t-shirt and some leggings, I still have some adornment going on with it, and not the functional. I need my beads and my certain chain that I wear, right? That's the functionality, right? Because it's amber and I need that. But how do I feel when I just, like I said, give you dungarees? I said it real old and country, dungarees and a t-shirt. But toss on a couple bracelets and a necklace, and I think I'm to the nines. I could have on pumps right now, but clearly I'm not wearing pumps, because do that anymore. No pumps for me. But I think that the expression of finding the self-preservation and pleasure as you walk through life, starting point with you, giving that
Yeah.
to you. And I think reordering that, because like I said, we're always focused on what I got to do for everybody else, and you eat there somewhere, but everybody else is taken care of. But that is pleasure is part of self-preservation. It's not even separate from it. It is
Exactly.
part of it. It's not.
And trust me, they'll be okay when you get yourself together. If you need to take a little more space up, a little more time for yourself, they'll actually benefit at the end.
And it doesn't matter who the they is.
But no, all of them.
All of it. Job, work, partner, friends, kids, all of the days. All of the days. I appreciate that. This has been such a thoughtful conversation.
Yeah.
And
it's been fun.
Us kind of exploring who and how we orient ourselves in sex and sexuality. We
can't hide it. It's going to always show up. It's always going to show up.
The driving force in life. Let's be clear, right?
Yeah, for sure it is. And, you know, if we are ashamed of our sexuality and our sexual expressions, we're ashamed of ourselves. So how do we show up in the world? You know, they say once you hide your shadows for so long, they become monsters. And it's the truth. You don't want that type of baggage to something that you love so much. Like, you enjoy that, girl, don't you? Integrate it into your world and your everyday life.
Right. Yeah, I love that. How do you incorporate or understand, I should say understand, because we understand it, but how do you understand and express to your folks the spiritual aspect of sexuality and how that they are one and intertwined? Because I think people don't realize that. I mean, people will scream from movies, oh God, when they have an orgasm, but they don't understand it really is. And yes, our whole experience is a spiritual experience, but sex, even more so in another way, is how do you help people understand the capacity and the power that sex has?
Oh, I mean, from the very start, when you think about how we come into this world, it's through that experience. And I think that holds more weight than anything else. Like, this is creation. Like, sex is creation.
Yeah.
I think it's that simple. And I say it just as simple as that.
I like that.
Do I need to say anything else? Because I think that's a lot within itself. Like,
it is.
Literally, sex is creative energy. It's life force energy. This is what gives life.
Yeah. And I think
don't we kind of need it?
Think about it like that. Yeah. And
it's need, one of those things that seems so simple.
For life, period, right? You need that creative energy. And so that's why it's essential and should be honored as such, right?
Yeah, it's something that sounds so simple. And, you know, we overlook it, or we don't attach it to the fact that this is just creative energy. In creative energy, it has to be expressed or it disappears. So give life to it. We become disconnected with our bodies. And, you know, we'll begin to lose our rhythm, the way we walk, the way we talk, the way we move. All of that begins to fade away if we suppress ourselves in that way. So never, suppress your creative energy. Always tap into it
Mm.
and see what fits best for you in
Right.
your lifestyle.
Right. Right. I love that.
Yeah.
So I'm sure Miss Britt's going to tell me we're going to close up soon, but is there anything that you wanted to share that we may not have gotten to? You knew like that came up while we were talking, or you knew coming into it, I definitely want to make sure I share this with them because it's important for folks to get it. What do you think we got to about?
This is going to sound very cliche, but it's so true.
The way you breathe to think about that first, it doesn't even matter if it sounds like it's off to use. Oh, we lost you. There we go. The way you took a breath before you were about to share it, I know it's going to have resonance, right? It doesn't matter if you heard it before. It's going to have resonance.
Take your time.
Mm.
Take your time. Take your time. And when you feel like you don't have enough time, take a little more time. Sit with your breath. I don't care if it's just 2 or 3 very deep breaths. Draw in those breaths. See why you're feeling the way you're feeling. Connect with your body, connect with your being, and let that carry you throughout your day, that connected. I'm going to kill these people. I'm going to kill these people today. These people.
You were like, and I ignored. So you were saying, take your time.
Yeah, take your time, become more aware of how your body feels. Use that breath to coach and guide you. That's what it's there for. And ask yourself those questions. How do I feel right now? Is this something that feels true to me? Should I be moving or navigating this way? Is this what I want? How will this affect me in the long term? Like, ask yourself those questions and don't go away from what first comes up. What first comes up in those moments, it holds a lot of weight and you're feeling that way for a reason. And if you need to revisit those questions later on, do that. But don't be afraid to ask yourself questions and to breathe.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that because I think we rush so much in life. But like you said, when you don't have time, that means you definitely need to take a few moments because that's an indicator that you're moving a little bit too much and your body needs to rest or just attenuate a little differently. So that is key for folks.
And that you can apply that to any event, any moment in life, in or out of the bedroom. Just take your time and become present with yourself. You in your skin, right? You want to be comfortable there first.
That part. Can you get comfortable? And not with makeup and with clothes, but just be. Yeah, I love it. I thank you, beautiful lady. It has been wonderful taking this little journey with you this fine day. And I hope that everyone joining us today got something from it. Should you have any questions, you know where to reach us. But Kisha, our womb wellness and sex doula, we thank you for these insights. We know we're going to include on all of our materials how people can find you, but what is your Instagram? How do we see you? How do we find you?
I'm KishaPedia everywhere, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and KishaPedia.com is my website.
I love it. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Indeed. Have a glorious one, beautiful.
You too. Peace.
Peace.